I think I told a little bit about myself. Growing up in Denver, born in Denver, and actually, right there in Five Points, I was born in the Rossonian, right in that marvelous hotel, and that everybody talks about renovating. But I grew up with all this marvelous music around, so everybody goes, so you're from New York, and when did you move to Denver? No matter what I tell them, they believe that I was born in New York. And so, but it wasn't New York. It was filled with amazing music. My mother was a classical musician. She played French horn. My father, and she played French horn very young with the San Diego Symphony at the age of 12. So I grew up with all this classical music, and my father played jazz, and they met at DU. So I just think that playing music at DU, I've created a piece about them. But I think being the oldest of four was really quite a responsibility. I felt that my father could not, when he came here, and he came from Texarkana, Arkansas. So here we have, San Diego, and we have Texarkana, Arkansas, and absolutely two worlds in 5 Points. At that point, it was the only place that had any integration. And it was integration because of the clubs, but nobody could live there. So my mother, they kind of hid her going up the back stairs of the Rossonian. So she was probably the only white woman that lived in the Rossonian, And she didn't understand why she couldn't, but she was pretty feisty. And so I grew up with that little bit of feistiness, I think. But then growing up in Denver and then moving to Dallas, I lived in Dallas for a number of years and almost died of a heart attack, and then found out that I needed to. I lost my ability to speak, and became mute, and so that's how I came into dance. I came into dance by not talking. Believe it, I didn't talk. Here we go. I really didn't.
No, believe it.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, I was born and raised in Colorado. I graduated from Holy Family High School.
Oh, yeah.
I was 17 when I graduated, and I thought college wasn't in line for me with the family, so I thought, well, what am I going to do with my life? And I was working at the Old May Company. I had been working there a couple of years, and I used to see stewardesses go through, and I thought, gee, that'd be interesting. And so I checked in on it, and you had to be 21 to be a stewardess because they served alcohol. Well, in the meantime, though, I was so interested in it, I thought maybe I could see if I liked it anyway, and I bought a ticket on it, ironically, Frontier Airlines, to Gunnison, Colorado. And I wanted to see, first of all, if I'd get airsick and if I did like it. So on the way over, I didn't get airsick. It was real nice. On the way back, I was the only person on the airplane. And the flight attendant said, maybe you'd like to go up front. I'll see if you can go up front and see the cockpit. And in those days, you could do that. So I thought, I was really excited. And so I went up, and they sat me down in a jump seat right between the two pilot seats. And when I sat down and looked out that front window, it just hit me. And it's a lot different than looking out the side windows, let me tell you. We were just coming across the Rocky Mountains into Denver, and it was just gorgeous. It was a winter day, and it was snow, and it was just gorgeous. Well, anyway, I was talking about it on the way back, and when we got on the ground, one of the pilots said, well, gee, they knew my first name, Emily. They knew my name by that time. They said, if you think you like flying so much, why don't you take flying lessons? And this is back, in 1957,
Wow.
58. And I said, gee, can a girl take flying lessons? And he said, certainly. And he told me where to go at Clinton Aviation.
Sue Miller, and I'm one of the people who came from Oklahoma here. They brought me in from Oklahoma to live here when I was 18 years old and got married. So I've been here, I really am, I suppose you would say I lived here most of my life. In 1971, I was a professional model. I had been a model all my whole life. I modeled all over the country, and in 1971 I was married, I had a couple of kids, and I found one morning a lump in my breast, and I went to the doctor, and it was breast cancer, and I had to have mastectomies on both sides. And I lost my job as a professional model. My friends went away because they thought I was catchy. And it was a horrible time. But a few years after I got through licking my wounds, I decided I was going to do something about it. And so I walked into a store to order a prosthesis. And I wouldn't even wear one. I was so angry at the world. I wouldn't even wear it. I was just a flat chested. And I went in and I got the prosthesis, and the lady said to me, "I'm going to be doing a fashion show for such and such group. Will you do it for me?" And I was so angry when I heard her even mention the word modeling or fashion show that my first thing was I started crying. And I ran out in my car and I slammed her door, and I slammed a door that was this thick glass. I slammed the door and the glass broke. And I'm in the car crying, she's screaming from the door. Anyway, I thought to myself as I'm crying, I thought, what's the matter with you? You've got a great opportunity here. So I went back, paid for the door, and I said to her, I would be very, very happy to do this for you, but you're going to have to let me use men and women who have had breast cancer. Oh no, she says, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I said, just let me try. So sure enough, I found 5 other crazy ladies, and we all went for almost 2 or 3 years. We went to bowling clubs, we went to bridge clubs. I mean, anybody that would have this, and on a card it said, cancer is not catching, and women who have had mastectomies are still vibrant, lovely women. And that idea has just grown to where we do, this is our 30th year in Denver. Next year will be 30 years on my 80th birthday.
I always, encourage them, but I just say, if you think you like to fly, just go out and take a couple of flying lessons. And especially in high school, if they're starting to think about it in high school, ask your parents, when you're 16, for a couple of flying lessons instead of, instead of presents. How about a couple of flying lessons, and that sort of thing. And then set your goals once you get started. And once a person has 5 or 6 hours of flying time, they're stuck.
For me, the biggest sacrifice that I made was, I was a very shy girl and a very shy married lady. And I guess the biggest sacrifice I had, I guess you'd call it a sacrifice, was the fact that I had to make my life public in order to sell an idea. My advice to young women today is go for it. There's nothing that you can't reach if you really want it bad enough. And I'll tell you what, at 80 years old, and I will be in March, at 80 years old, there's still things I want. And I'm going to fight another kind of prejudice, the prejudice against people who are older.
Women now can stand on the shoulders of other women. They don't have to just stand alone. There are many women that have done what you all have done and what we've done, and they just have to just know that they can stand on those shoulders and do it, and the courage is there. And it is sort of scary because you think that because you don't see a lot of women doing something, that maybe you might be the only one, but probably you're not at this time. I've made no sacrifices, so I have to tell some stories here because I think that's important that I always say I'm a motivational speaker. I try to say that this has only been a gift and never a sacrifice. Everything that's come back is greater than anything I've ever had to sacrifice. However, I think that sense of, I spoke about it today, is that I'm a public person. My son doesn't want to be with me. My husband doesn't want to be with me. So nobody want to be with me. Because my time, no matter where I am, is not mine. I've made myself a part of this world, and when the world wants me and needs me, I'm there. And so I have one son and I have these 3 granddaughters, but I know that they will leave me in a hot second because I will spend the time with my dancers or with the public or with children or with elders or with people who are sick. That's what I'll do. That's it. And so I think that it's lonely sometimes. I think people think I'm very full of life and have people around me every second, but it really is that everyone leaves you because they know you belong to everybody, even your husband. Yeah, yeah. As much I've been with him since I'm 12, and he will leave me in a hot second, and never leave me. And that's what's absolutely beautiful.
Okay, wonderful. Stories of humor, stories of wrenching life experiences, stories of wisdom. You all are fabulous, so thank you.
Happy birthday.